Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Wednesday in Major League Baseball. First up, the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Minnesota Twins. Taj Bradley and Dallas Keuchel are your projected starters. The Rays are 2-0 in the first two starts back for Bradley at the Major League level. Even though he hasn't pitched the best, we saw him struggle a bit in his last start against Seattle, 4 earned runs and 3 home runs in that game. We know Bradley brings to the table really good strikeout stuff. He has 111 strikeouts and 86 innings of work, but does give up a lot of sharp contact, 17 home runs. The control's also been off here and there this season. I still think he's the better option, though, in this matchup compared to Dallas Keuchel, who may have a sub-5 ERA right now, but the expected numbers aren't great. He doesn't really strike out too many batters, even though he missed 6 bats, or he earned 6 strikeouts in his last start against the New York Mets. This is a very good Tampa Bay Rays lineup. I think they'll be able to get to Keuchel. I'm going to take Tampa Bay Rays on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Colorado Rockies. Jameson Taillon and Ty Blach are your starters. To me, there's value with the Rockies in this game, getting plus money. Jameson Taillon struggling this season with an ERA above 5. He's just been really inconsistent. We saw him pitch really well his last start against the Diamondbacks, but that was at Wrigley Field. His last road start was against the Cincinnati Reds at Great American Ballpark, which we know next to Coors Field is the most hitter-friendly ballpark, and he gave up 5 earned runs and 3 home runs in that game. So I am a little bit worried with Taillon in this game, and Ty Blach's actually been pretty solid at Coors Field. Sub-5 ERA, a 2-0 record in 25 and a third innings. Not too shabby for Blach at home. And the last home start he had against the Toronto Blue Jays, it wasn't great, but it was good enough for a Rockies win, 8-7, the final score. To me, there's value with Colorado. Give me the Rockies on the money line. Next up, we go to Oracle Park as the Giants take on the Guardians. We're going to see Logan Allen and Kyle Harrison, a pair of lefties on the mound in this one. And two teams that overall this season do not have very good numbers offensively against left-handers. I think Logan Allen pitches pretty well in this game. He's actually been better on the road than at Progressive Field this season. Kyle Harrison, he's a prospect and he's had some struggles, but he's actually pitched really well at Oracle Park in his first 11 and a third innings there with a 2.38 ERA and 16 strikeouts to go with it. I'm going to take the under here in Cleveland, San Francisco. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Seattle Mariners. No official starter for Los Angeles, but we should see Luis Castillo going for Seattle. Castillo's been really sharp at T-Mobile Park this season. 2.49 ERA in 90 and a third innings of work with 110 strikeouts. At 7-3 winning record. The Mariners are 4-0 in his last 4 starts, including his last game against the Tampa Bay Rays, where he went 6 innings of shutout ball, 8 strikeouts, and a 1-0 Mariners win. If the Angels go with more of a bullpen game in this matchup, we know how much the bullpen has struggled for Los Angeles this season. In the last month, an ERA above 4, 4.73, and the 5th highest SIERA to go with it. Give me the Seattle Mariners here, laying the 1.5 runs in this one. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Baltimore Orioles at Camden Yards. We're going to see Drew Rom and Kyle Gibson on the mound. Drew Rom is struggling in a small sample size at the major league level thus far. He threw 17 and a third innings of work with a 7.79 ERA, but an even steeper 8.53 ERA away from Busch Stadium, where we find him here. His last start was good enough for a Cardinals win, but it really wasn't a great outing for him. 3 2/3 innings, 7 base hits, 4 earned runs, and 2 home runs. No strikeouts to go with it, so a little bit concerning. You're facing one of the tougher lineups in baseball, especially as a lefty in the Baltimore Orioles. And Kyle Gibson has not been great personally. An ERA above 5 is obviously not where you want to see it, but he's got that 14-8 record for a reason. This offense backs him up. They go to war for him, and usually he faces some of the other opposing teams' weaker starters and sometimes bullpen games for opposing teams as well, like we find here. So it's a good matchup for the Orioles. Give me the Orioles on the money line. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Boston Red Sox. We're going to see Clark Schmidt and Tanner Houck as the projected starters. Pretty tough game for me. I do think Clark Schmidt is the better starting pitcher in this matchup. However, I think the Red Sox have the better lineup, especially against right-handed pitchers. And Tanner Houck has had some success against the Yankees this season. He faced them in back-to-back starts in the middle of June. It was on June 10th and June 16th. Now, granted, Aaron Judge wasn't playing in those games, which is a big difference. However, Houck went 10 innings combined, giving up only 3 earned runs, 8 strikeouts along the way. I'm going to take the Red Sox here. I just think they have the more trustworthy offense. And, even though the Yankees have the better bullpen, I do think the Red Sox can get to Clark Schmidt early on and hold that lead in the late innings. So give me the Boston Red Sox in a slight lean. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Spencer Strider and Christopher Sanchez are your starters. We know with Strider on the mound, we're going to see the Braves as big favorites here. But to me, I think there's value with the Phillies. I mean, when you look at this team offensively in the last month, they have been just as good, if not better, than the Braves have against righties and against lefties as well. I mean, in the last month, number one in baseball in OPS, the Phillies are. Number one in isolated power. Pretty low strikeout rate, pretty high walk rate to go with it. They're facing Strider, who's been good this season. Obviously, I mean, 250 strikeouts in 162 innings, but he also has been pretty inconsistent, giving up 10 earned runs his last two starts, 8 2/3 combined, a 1-1 record for Atlanta in those games. And Christopher Sanchez has been solid. He keeps the Phillies in games. His last 5 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in all those games, 5 or more strikeouts in 4 of his last 5, and 1 walk allowed his last 4 starts combined. To me, there's value with Philadelphia getting plus money at home. The bullpen's been just as good as Atlanta in the last month. Give me Philadelphia on the money line. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Detroit Tigers. Connor Phillips and Eduardo Rodriguez are the projected starters. The Reds won the Major League debut for Connor Phillips, 7-6 the final score, but Phillips didn't pitch too well in that game. 4 2/3 innings, 6 base hits, and 5 earned runs with 2 home runs to go with it. Now, Phillips did have 7 strikeouts, and we know he has really good strikeout stuff. By the way, Phillips is the number 4 prospect in the Reds organization, but it could take Phillips a few starts, maybe the rest of this season, to get to where he needs to be at the Major League level. Not sure if he's MLB ready right now, and I do think Eduardo Rodriguez is the better option on the mound. The Reds have not done too well against lefties in the last month offensively. I think Rodriguez pitches well, and the Tigers win this game. So give me Detroit on the money line. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Jordan Montgomery and Yusei Kikuchi are your starters. Two teams that in the last month don't have the best numbers against lefties in terms of the isolated power. Decent OPS, though, and a very low strikeout rate with high walk rates to go with it. Jordan Montgomery's not been in great form lately. If you look at his last 2 starts, giving up 11 earned runs in only about 9 1/3 innings of work, 15 base hits, and 3 home runs to go with it. One of those games against the Minnesota Twins, we know a pretty tough lineup, but the other one against the Oakland A's at home, not what we expected from Jordan Montgomery. I do think the Blue Jays get to him as well. I think the Rangers can chip in a few runs on Yusei Kikuchi, who's been inconsistent lately. His last start was sharp against the Royals, but we know one of the weaker lineups in baseball. We saw him struggle against the Guardians back on August 27th, giving up 4 earned runs and a home run. Makes it at least a home run in 2 of his last 3 starts, so don't love that. Give me the over here in Rangers Blue Jays. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the New York Mets. We're going to see Zach Gallen for Arizona, no official starter for the Mets. I'm going to go with Arizona here on the money line. Gallen has not been great on the road this season, but his last start on the road was pretty strong. A shutout against the Chicago Cubs, a complete game shutout, by the way. 9 strikeouts and only 1 walk given up in that game. Gallen's been really tough to read lately. I mean, before that shutout, he gave up 5 earned runs and 6 earned runs in the 2 previous starts to the Orioles and Dodgers. But against this New York Mets team, it hasn't been great in the second half of the season. I think Gallen will be good enough for the Diamondbacks to win the game. The Mets bullpen also in the last month not great. The 7th highest Sierra, an ERA up above 4.5. So give me the Diamondbacks on the money line. Next up, we see the Oakland A's taking on the Houston Astros. Paul Blackburn and Hunter Brown are your starters. Similar to the first game of the series where we took Oakland plus 2.5 runs. To me, I think the Astros are certainly the better team, but they're just a little bit overvalued in a spot like this. I mean, Hunter Brown at home this season, an ERA above 6 with a record of 3-7, and Paul Blackburn's been solid this season. I mean, sub-4 ERA overall this year, coming off his last 5 starts, giving up 2 earned runs or fewer in all those games. He pitched against his Houston Astros lineup back on July 22nd. It was a 4-1 A's win outright. 5 1/3 innings of 1-run baseball with 5 strikeouts. A really solid outing for Blackburn. To me, there's value with the Oakland A's here. I'm going to take the 1.5 runs with the Oakland A's. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Chicago White Sox. No official starter for KC, but we should see Mike Clevenger going for the White Sox. And Mike Clevenger's last 2 games, pretty strange. I mean, you look at it back on September 2nd against the Tigers, he gave up in 4 innings of work, 12 base hits, and 8 earned runs in a 10-0 blowout loss. But then the next start against the same team, the Detroit Tigers, he went 7 innings of shutout baseball with 7 strikeouts, no walks, and a 6-0 White Sox win. So interesting to say the least. I think Clevenger's pitching pretty well in the second half of this season. He's got a DO right now below 4 on the year. He's pitched pretty well at Guaranteed Rate Field despite that bad game against the Tigers. Even despite that game, he's got a decent 3.62 ERA at home. I think he's a better option here, where the Royals probably going with a bullpen game. The Royals bullpen's not been great this season, so give me Chicago on the money line. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Braxton Garrett for Miami, no official starter for Milwaukee. Could be a bullpen game for the Brewers. The bullpen's been pretty solid for Milwaukee this season. In the last month, a 3.7 ERA and a pretty good Sierra to go with it. Braxton Garrett, a lefty facing a Brewers team that did lefties pretty well in the second half of the year. Struggled early on and struggled last year, but the Brewers in the last month, good OPS numbers, good isolated power, a very low strikeout rate, and a very high walk rate, which is a concern for me for Braxton Garrett. He's been better on the road than at Lone Depot Park. He's been really good on the road this season with a sub-3 ERA, but I still think the Brewers are the better team in this matchup, and I do think they'll be able to get to Garrett for a few runs with how well they've done against lefties recently. So give me the Brewers here on the money line. And the final game for Wednesday's card in Major League Baseball, the San Diego Padres taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Blake Snell and Ryan Pepiot are your projected starters. We know Blake Snell's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this season, in the second half especially. Overall this year, a 2.52 ERA, even better numbers on the road this season. However, I just don't know if his offense backs him up enough to win this game. And the Dodgers had some success against him the last time he faced them. He went 5 innings, 3 runs, and gave up a home run with 4 walks to go with it. Now, the Padres went on to win that game, but still, Snell only going those 5 innings with 108 pitches thrown. He's seen the Dodgers a lot this season. They've been able to get some sharp contact against him, a couple of home runs. Ryan Pepiot's been really sharp, 2-0 record with a .86 ERA. It's a small sample size, but exactly what you're looking for if you're a Dodgers fan or Dodgers backer. I mean, the Dodgers, his last 4 games, 4-0. He hasn't given up a run in his last 12 innings of work. Give me the Los Angeles Dodgers here on the money line at Dodger Stadium. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.